Sanje Chedon Zo Jin Chono La Shanje Pata Dana Chapsam Che Dake Chishi Jibe Zonam Ji Rola Pinchara Sanje Ndra Cho Sanje Chedon Zo Jin Chono Shanje Pata Dana Chapsam Che Dake Chinso Jibe Zonam Ji Rola Pinchara Sanje Ndra Cho Sanje Chedon Zo Jin Chono Shangja Bada Dana Japsam Je, Daku Shinso Jepe Sonam Je, Nola Pancha Sanje Sho. Okay. Good. Have you listened His Holiness teaching last 2 nights? Okay. Do you have any questions for the teaching? For Heart Sutra?
Well, it's very complicated, isn't it? The idea of emptiness is so seems so simple, but it's so I think maybe for me, I just do a lot of listening right now still. Yeah.
That's good, yeah. Okay, how are you listening to teaching?
I did not. Unfortunately,
no question.
Oh, I didn't have a question. I just had a quick comment on it.
No. First, I want to check this.
Oh, sure. Sorry, Geshe. Sorry.
If anyone, some has a difficult understand that His Holiness teaching last 2 nights, he didn't go to word by word. Yes, Karen.
So I listened to the first night, and so I had a question on that. On the fourfold, I forget what it's called, fourfold emptinesses.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
I'm sorry. The 4 logical absurdities. I think you were going to talk about that one of these nights, but I didn't understand what he was talking about.
That's not from, that was from, he's referring to, I think, the Garjuna text in that case.
The what?
Well, he was referring to a different text, not the Heart Sutra in that case.
Oh. Okay.
You know how he often refers to the Chandrakirti or Garjuna text?
He takes from Nagarjuna and the Chandrakirti and Dharmakirti from that.
Okay.
I'm just talking about, we just try to simple understand. We research always Heart Sutra. If you something don't understand the simple meaning of the book, or something he says something different way, because we didn't go to the very much, but just beginning. Looks you guys have to look for you notes. It's okay. You don't have to question. It's fun.
I have a question, Geshe.
Yes. Paya.
Namaste, first of all. So, as the last 2 classes, we've come at it with you giving the background, which is great. The one question that I had was that, so in talking about the bodhisattva concept, right? Which is inherent in here.
Okay.
So my question is, we talk about Mahayana, this is a Mahayana concept, and we talk about Mahayana and other types of Buddhisms like Theravada and whatnot. So my question is, when the Buddha was talking about this, when he was giving this teaching, there was no Mahayana, right? There was no there was no Mahayana, there was no Theravada. There was just the teaching. So what makes this now the Mahayana teaching?
Yes. Okay, that's good. This is good question. People have maybe difficult to understand. Also, even the Lord, even the Hinayana tradition, some also they don't believe the Mahayana Buddha's teaching. Ale, 제가 다 저한테 배는 것이 뭐 대군도 강동원에 도바먹고 살살와. 제가 안가도 배나 세라마와 단도대 받는 마보 나려야 아니 대화 첨부 주대 상지 송 말해스. 걔 말랭이 되는 마보요레스.
뭐라 저한테 말해.
ale.
뭐 저한테 다 상계에 대해 치라님 수백 값수.
ale.
택바 첨보다 택바 멤버스에 깨져 요 말았어. 상계가 최고 깨져 맞아 지금 상계에 다 택바 멤버에 택바 대 요 말았어. 한 단다된 가서 대 치라님보다 된 택바 첨보게 시설에서 가르쳐 라기로 했어.
ale 오래 대가다 태워 첨보도 태워 멤버 깨져도 말해 대도 특이도 간지 아니 쇼치라야 아니 단단한도 빨리 트레디션다 쇼치라 산스케 트레디션스 데니 오레스 산지게 추 담보 소메 갑라야 아니 다그 빨리 사이드 강소만 말아 디 강소사가 대자 강 엠바테 아니 샤라마와다 도디바 아니 도차데요레 단다 샤람님보 소사테 또 아니 산스케 소사레 대 소사데 또 동반이 아니 무슨 댄사가 느르고 대자인 바다 아니 텔라야 산스케 트레디션스 다 아이나 아니 날렌다 트레디션 디나 군도 송도 봐.
So at that time, yes, there was no Mahayana or Theravada kind of a description like that. But so there was, like a Pali tradition and the Sanskrit tradition. And so at the beginning, when Buddha first taught the Four Noble Truths, he taught that in the Pali language. And that was suitable for the disciple of that time. And then later, when during the second turn of the wheel of Dharma, when he gave teaching on the Heart Sutra, and at that time, he saw it's more beneficial for the disciples of the Sanskrit tradition. So he gave teaching, the Heart Sutra teaching in the Sanskrit language.
아니 다 뒤갑도 어느 도지가 아니 가르고 다들 갈라서 아니 다 상적고 샘단 레바요 단단고 군두고 송소 상적고 샘단 내가 침보레스 간제 아니 태와 침보고 추송 돈이 송을 잡아라야 아니 돈이 도베 샤랍다 되게 냠도야 아니 상적고 샘 곰냐 아니 상적고 버터버레 송와인자 아니 다 알렌다 트레디션스가 나면도 다 텔레바레스
그 트레디션스?
다 날렌다 트레디션스
아, 대값은 요 말아. 상값은 요 말아.
티가 다 당이도 요 말이나 다 티칼로서 간제 되네 달줘라 다 되네 간제 아니 콜로 담보가 소마다 소다 만다고 소마다 대가 소다들 아니 대화 침불로세 소다 만다고 하지 소사가 대자야 만다 아니 소다야 만다고 하지 소마레스
얘는 들 상계 셰슈 값도 대화 침보세 요 말아. 들 대화 침보 분별을 라 말아.
단위에 소대 대화 침 단위에 내려도 개요 말에 다대 소사대 간제 오마바 송거요 봐 산지 주변 가던데 단위 되는데 왜서 말이야. 왜냐면 하고매다. 간제 아니 빨리 트레디션도 산스케 트레디션도 된다고 이나.
네.
야만나 안에 동반이 안에
음악을 룩시자스 마이나.
동반이 안에 내려온 거 되자다. 안에 동반이 넣도 머리가 되자 된다고 해요, 말이야.
다가서 그런 담보 값도 거라 내버 들어서 말아.
내가 들어서 말아.
내버 들어서 말아.
근데 콘도야 아니 배나 된게 되게 돼야 곰 야보고 잡용서 아니 내가 들어서 돼 콜로 맞죠. 아니 콜로니 버서 그 아니 좀 콜로 담보에서 말 돼야 아니 여바스나 고는 손조래서 야고 공지하는 손으로 와. 제가 간들 입에 가서 동반이 내려고 되자 되레스. 담보 가서 동반이 된 무릎에 되자 도착해요 그래서.
So yeah, it was there was no, I mean, of course there is in the Mahayana. Mahayana is there all the time, even before Buddha came. But it was not explicitly mentioned, at that time, saying, "Oh, this is the Mahayana teaching." Like that. But nowadays we call that Mahayana teaching because it accords, with the Madhyamika's view. So the emptiness, it accords with the Madhyamika's view, and Madhyamika is just the Mahayana school. So that's why. So that's why nowadays it's called as Mahayana teaching. But also His Holiness, when he mentioned, and he mentioned about bodhicitta, so like meditating on emptiness with the bodhicitta, then you will be able to gain enlightenment through that. So when it explains about the bodhicitta, that also shows that it is the Mahayana teaching.
제가 마야나다 딱 그러니까 나 샤주고 셈 공매들라 안에 셈제담 산지고 공매들라 안에 마야나세 대목금들라다 안에 그로 티나야나세 나도 배워걸 다니대 작으로 다 야디 상케께도 간에 하고매
되니까 다시는 뭐 숨을 가서도 대 장르섬 숨어래.
전주다 다 다문기대 돈이라 봐 티슐라 송거라 다 슐라.
And so, so the bodhicitta, of course, explicitly, it was all about emptiness, but implicitly, it also taught about bodhicitta. So that's why the bodhicitta, is the cause, or the cause or the path, to enter into the Mahayana path. And so, therefore, when it explains about that, then that shows that it is the Mahayana teaching.
제장가 단다 아니 단내대 대회기 단 시람보는 도대고 망보고 간지 대화침보에 산지가 까마이 막해내 그래 디갑라다 곰소 디나 냥게 매워 다 매서가나 간지 켈랭 말했어.
And so because of that, at that time it was not mentioned. So because even though they accept that the Heart Sutra was taught by Buddha's teaching, but then they still denied, the Mahayana teaching. So they said there's no Mahayana. Mahayana is not a Buddha's teaching. So I don't know. Did you get it?
You got it?
Or are you still confused?
Sorry about that. I was on mute. I think we're coming at it from different ways.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't think I'm implying that, I'm just saying, is that, did you say it was from?
여봐야나야 고 미카지고 도장장 따도 가지가 디발랑 나도 디 소대로 맨로스와 디가도 산지 좀 되더니 아데 나때 조사를 단다 그리고 가지고 때 조사도 다 명예 조사도 안에 단다 테메 다치면 되고 또 소고 디소로 맨로.
So it's just like now, nowadays, we have both, sutra and tantra available, but not everybody, follows tantra. And some people are very stubborn, with the sutra. This is just, we only follow sutra, like that. So even though it's both Buddha's teaching and there's an option, so some people, they just follow that, So, it depends on who is inclined to practice what, So who have this strong inclination towards, the teaching. And at that time also it's like that about the Mahayana and Hinayana. So they both are there. Buddha taught all the teachings, of both Mahayana and Hinayana. But people, to some people it fits, the Theravadan teaching or Mahayana teaching fits, and to somebody, the Mahayana teaching is more suitable. So therefore, whoever the Buddha saw, whoever is suitable, for whatever teaching, then he taught them that teaching.
야만나 빼라는 내려오 전한 고도는 말했어. 아니 다 강다지 다 가라 동아래 타고 동아래 타와요. 어때 요래 저랑기 누누지나 지나 동아래 타와는 고아를 조고를 했어서 뭐지. 아니 저니와 다 텔레 셴바들 지야서 어때요 지야를 상제에서 타와요. 오나 상제로나 가져나 대토야죠. 샘제 탐제 상제 공부토님에 된리가 상제선 공부 그래서 공부니 봐서로. 되려 건너 고대면 뜻이.
So maybe it will be easier to understand this way. This is there a way, we can be free from all these sufferings? This is yes, you can be free from all the sufferings. And in order to be free from suffering, you have to develop a strong renunciation, and you have to enter into the path, and that way you can achieve liberation. Now, is there more than that we can do? Just like we do for ourselves, can we do for others? Yes, you can gain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And so your motivation, should be, to gain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. That is the bodhicitta. So with that, then you can gain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. I don't know, is that maybe a little better way to understand?
Yeah, so maybe one last clarifying question. So then if I understand correctly, then this is the original teaching. The Buddha taught it according to where he's taught it applicable. And so then the Theravada teaching, for example, it just leaves this one aside, say bodhicitta aside, because it's meant to be suitable for a certain sort of understanding. Is that correct?
테라바라게 람드 냠슬라네 다 디칸에 셴바델네 요르 오요요 단단 대초다 장주 셈때 디손으로 보시 뭐지
말에 모나스나다 특별다 단다데 돈이 다 가서 다 셔님 뭐 돈이 거시요라 디르드네 가서 테면도 솔라 많이 버지 신다도 솔라 송바레스
다단데
라나 디가 말 가서네 테면게 다 가서 돈이 마도나 그런 타바토 야마라
제가 다티 샤람보도 도대바잖아 타고 그리고 신도 얘기를 돈이 또 거기 말와 되게 테메사도 건 테라바라서든 가도 샤람보다 단도 대바 되게 탐타던데 텔라 돈이 또 거기 말했어 텔라면 저기 오다 야 베나 태워침부 강사 연바지 베나 오마 연바지 아니 니들랑 쇼되는데 그 돈이 또 거기 봐 단줄래라 관계 돈이 또 차가로 봐 근데 탐다로도 되는 거 비도 매도
So yeah, I mean, you can't really say that, you know, you're Theravada and you don't have to practice these, you know. I mean, it goes according to the tenets. So some tenets, like the Vaivashika and Sautantika, they don't talk about emptiness at all, you know. So and according to them, you don't have to realize emptiness in order to achieve liberation. But according to the Madhyamika school, like Prasangika and Sautantika Madhyamika, you have to realize emptiness in order to achieve, in order to be free from cyclic existence. So even the healers and sort of realizers have to realize emptiness in order to achieve their liberations.
다 간들 안에 태워 첨보이나 안에 태맥의 냠슬래가 람들 레먹고 말을 랭고 냠슬 랭고네 디 강래야 학부 콘도 제리 그랬어. 된다 그러다.
And of course, you know, the Mahayana, you know, even though the Mahayana teaching is suitable for the Mahayana practitioners, but doesn't mean they don't have to practice the Hinayana path. They have to practice Hinayana path also. So on top of that, then they do extra, you know, to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings.
다 어때 이제 신바이 잡았나 빼나 남도 랍단 로에나 빼나 근데 콜리지 마서바데 차단 로고로 봤어. 가지 콜리지는 대 대근 들어가지. 가지 콜리지는 양조직 로망으로도 PhD 대소라고 싶네.
So it's like, you know, like for example, you know, when you go to college, you know, you have to go through all the grades, you know, from the first grade all the way to the 12th grade, right? And then after that, you go to the college. In order to go to college, you have to go through that all. So it's just like that. And after college, it's up to you. If you want to just stop there and, you know, just, you know, be happy with that and just, you know, find a job with that, or and then you want to do something more better, and then you go and do a master's or PhD like that, you know. So it's like that.
제가 다 테라바를 세다 나도 대 섬거다 돼요. 나도 저 장용 말다. 다도 골로도 치마. 섬에 텔라페나 우리가 로조 찾아가지네 콜리지 타나타 된 적도 달래가지 뒤소로 오시. 다 나도 태워 전부 세대 콜리지 집본데 콜리지도 고군데 뒤 강라 양조 아니 PhD 고 누구서 되는도 삼당 그랬어.
And so, so like, you know, when you say study and all the way go up to the college and you graduate the college, and then you say, okay, I have graduated the college, you know, now I don't have to, you know, I'm graduate with a bachelor's degree, so I can find a job with that. I can, you know, one can be satisfied with that. You can still find a job, you can live, you know, you can survive with that. You can, you know, make good money and, you know, live with that. But then that's like the Theravadins, you know. So I achieve liberation for myself. I'm happy. That's okay. I don't need, you know, anymore. So that's, you're satisfied with that. But then I say, oh, no, just having a bachelor's is not good enough. I want to have a master's and PhD. You know, so you go higher to do that. So that's like, you know, Mahayana. And so, oh, okay, it's not enough for just myself, you know, to be free from all the sufferings. I have to help others to be free from suffering. For that, I have to be fully enlightened. You And so therefore, I'm going to enter into the Mahayana path to do that. So then that becomes like the Mahayana. Something like that, for example.
아니 소소라고 말하지 현지 시대 제고는 때까지 설마 따고 말았어. 제가
And so it also depends on the level of intelligence and courage, that you have. Somebody who is not courageous enough, somebody who can't even do for himself or herself, if you are asked them to do for others as well, and will be not be able to do that, right? So it's similar to like that. So Theravadan is, the Mahayana is for somebody who is less courageous.
어차피 대시 자다 찍으러 다 두시는 대시 오죠. 라스 다 되는 로인다. 되네다. 나도 셔라만 좀 로인다.
Margaret 찍어서.
Okay. Margaret, what?
Oh, yeah. Hello, Geshe Tenley. I just want to add a statement to what Payal said, which is from what I heard from His Holiness teaching. I wonder if it's related. I remember very distinctly His Holiness said on day 1 that the teaching of Heart Sutra, that particular teaching, the audience, the people who can receive the teaching have to have a immense accumulation of merit and wisdom in order to be there, to be able to receive the teaching. And in fact, he said, like those who don't have enough merit will see only Shariputra talking all to himself, and they cannot see Avalokiteshvara. So I think by that, then that, in order, whether we are on Theravada path or on Mahayana path, we need immense amount of merit and wisdom in order to be able to be on Mahayana path. Is that correct?
Yeah. 대가리 티가나가나 손은 그 초야보 사상에 아니 또반 통보도 저거 아니 셔레세다 셔리빈이가 제가 요래서 아니 초사명도 셔레데 제가 말다 그 셔리비 코로코로 질려자도 오는 통도 그래서
그래 뭐라 됐어 다르라
근데 대송소와 제가 대 다래 손은 그 초상에도 저거 셔리빈 제토 요래 망에도 단 제토 말해.
Yeah, that's right. So just like Margaret said, His Holiness mentioned about that. They said like you need a lot of merit, a great amount of merit, to be able to see or to be able to hear the entire teaching on the Heart Sutra. People without enough merit will only see Shariputra talking to himself.
제가 대 메시지에다가 왔잖아. 다 산지 좀 전에 놓치는 검전에 쇼대로 왔어. 다 샤리부터 코대대로 왔어. 다 아니 샤리부가 아니 산지 좀 신절한데 샤리부가 간에 셔레든 제가 요래서. 미 관계는 건 제가 근데 가서 소리는데 관계는 제가 말아 이제 돈 말아.
So Buddha is sitting there in meditative equipoise, and then he blesses Shariputra to ask this question. And so some people, they see Shariputra sitting there next to Buddha, but so not everybody will see Avalokiteshvara.
제가 아니 다대 아니 손은 그 소야 보상 되나 간조 용거 간조 배나 남주대 간조 섬 로도 간조 카시에게 배나 니마 자름 무치게 다름살이야 지트체도 간주고 로나베 갑라야 미치게 제 군주는 제 말다 니마 몸보는 군주는 제가 말다 그뒤나 그 슈트 똥바지 마시.
So yeah, it depends on the merit, right? So people, if they don't have enough merit, then will not see it. So it happened even in the modern time, like in Dharamsala. His Holiness giving transmission, of the Buddha's teaching, translated teachings of the Buddha, the Khensur. And when he was giving this transmission, there was one guy, he didn't see His Holiness at all. He only see an empty throne. Everybody is listening to his transmission, but this guy wouldn't see His Holiness at all.
제단도 좋고 내가 대단하지 단단한도 아니 바바 토메게 야와셴바 로중이 바 검자이네. 근데 담보네 야와셴바 대여서나 고탄 쏘는 거 촉사면은 제가 말해서.
And so it makes sense, right? Because even like in the case of Arya Sangha, when he meditated on Buddha Maitreya for 12 years, he didn't see Maitreya for 12 years. But Maitreya was there all the time from the day one. He was there, but because he had not created enough merit, therefore he was not able to see Buddha Maitreya.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, like that, okay. That interesting. Okay, that kazang bena ngadu tele ma songaji. Ani that bena nganzu ha mogo malabadre kundu tele ma sonso kundu mixe da kalma mixe treke karo manawadre mixe songa songas. Ani
So did you when you listen to His Holiness Dalai Lama's teaching, did you hear anything different from what we've been discussing? He didn't talk anything different, right?
Next question.
Besides not seeing Avalokiteshvara.
다 ngado de sharam ni bodawa. Ani tat ngolma tambo lije te echi. Ani tate tabdewa ta mambol shusa imba te shum gawrawa.
So now going into our teaching on Heart Sutra. So at the beginning we talked about the introduction part, right? Introduction part, that's like the common introduction and the uncommon introduction. So we talked about that a lot in great length. So we don't have to go through that anymore, right? And so I mentioned before that His Holiness will talk about that, right? That even the 5 aggregates are empty of inheritance. So that part, I said, but he hasn't talked about it yet, right?
Yes, he did.
Oh, sorry, he talked about that last time.
Yes.
Today, ngado pena pumbonga wote jata jena pumbonga wote da jang se ti jalo kadna ane pumbonga la tene tabi kanza de raji mato tago se te kundu sewo kato sonso wa.
So His Holiness mentioned clearly, right, that when we said even the 5 ergas or 5 ergas also, so that means so if it is 5 ergas also, then what is the other one? So that's just not just the person who is imputed to the 5 ergas as a person as being empty of inheritance, but even the 5 ergas to which the person is imputed are also empty of inheritance.
Atendwa jata chigre te namju komede sonre ane akajela pumbonga rene ane raji te tagore mato pumbonga ga chazang tagore te kodang chikondus.
So that is one explanation that His Holiness gave also, right? But that's another explanation. That's like said, not only not all the 5 ergas, but even each of the 5 ergas, even each of the 5 ergas. So not only that, each of the 5 ergas, even all 5 ergas, like that.
Okay. Ta Shariputra travad karta. Ajana to ngad tambo ingchara to travad kishedaya.
So what is Shariputra's question? Can anyone say?
How should a child of lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Karo.
Yeah, that Riki Borigi Bon Hana it's the lover chat.
Oh, that travad that you have kosho travad terda.
Yes, so that's the question. Right? That's the question. You all understand that, right?
Okay, that travad tibola kariore tibola yang palo ti jablo chi besha da tibola.
So what is inside that question? There's something hidden there. What is that?
And the Sera Jey part the Shamba, Sera Jey part the Shamba and said the Kanji Tonyo to below him, but Nika take over the Sera part Shamba Tonyo to below take over does.
So the profession of Sutra, profession of Wisdom Sutra, right? So here, profession of Wisdom Sutra is referring to emptiness, right? That's what it
다 저와 그러나 대도배 초론을 가디지네 초론 요놈 토놈 고놈 물론 람가 간이 랍고 그래 대jal로도 고고다 대jal로 배샤다네.
And so how do we train in this? How do we train on the emptiness, right? How do we practice emptiness and on the 5 parts, on the part of accumulation, part of preparation, part of seeing, part of meditation, like that. So that's what's hidden. That's what's hidden. So he asked, how do we practice that? But it doesn't say clearly on what part. How do we practice that?
Okay? 다가네 샤르지 파르트 좀 랍고 그래서 다 랍이 구바가는 산제 톱고 그러was. 구바 다른 것도 내가 내는 것도 수도 냠내 지야지 렌 톱고 그러다스. 내데 인사리에서 많이 받지.
And so so how do we practice that, right? So how do we practice the profession of wisdom, and in those parts? So we have to think, how do we practice like that?
And 산제 고마 톱고 근도 어서 대가도 미더와 미대.
And so why do we practice that? We have to practice that. How do we practice that? But why do we have to practice that? Our goal for practicing that is to achieve state of full enlightenment, right?
다들 톱고나 아니 돈이 또 싫어도 공부를 했어. 내가 제대로서.
And so if we need to achieve state of full enlightenment, then we need to meditate on emptiness. So that's one of the job that we have to do in order to gain enlightenment.
다 텔레얀 로탄로 그러나 아니 솔람 요놈 돈놈 거놈 방아드니로 그래서.
And then how do we achieve the state of enlightenment? Through meditating on emptiness is by going through those 5 paths. The path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, and so forth.
Okay, that's some 맞아. 저바디나 내 요섬. 근데 렌딜라는 두수 요르섬 렌딜레 티푸데 샤리보 리제보르제 칼라치라버 좀도 포모한테 도만도 따고 세티나라 렌디보르 텐주데 요섬 거다스.
Yeah, so you have to understand that, okay? So behind that question, this is also included. Okay, this is also included. And in the same with the answer, where he spoke, when Avalokiteshvara, so the Buddha replied to the Venerable Shariputra as follows: Shariputra, whichever son or daughter of the lineage which is engaged in the practice of profound professional wisdom should look perfectly like this. So, should practice, like this, like subsequent looking perfectly and correctly at emptiness of inherent existence of the 5 ergos also. So when you say that, so it also, applies, to meditate on these emptiness, on all these 5 paths, the path of accumulation and so forth.
Okay, 제가 아니 람가 대발아 아니 배댕이 도저는 발라 그래서 대한도 주는 랍고 요스.
And so those are the implicit teaching, the implicit teaching, like it is explained, in the ornament of clear realization.
응대 돈이는 봤어도 응대 돈이는 봐도 돈반이 되지. 배댕이 도저는 봤어도 아니 돈반이 또 발라 때는 냠산을 남지는 받으라 배댕이 도저는 발라 그래.
And so the explicitly, what it talks about is emptiness, right? Explicitly, it explains. Implicitly, it also talks about those the paths, the 5 paths on which you embark, to achieve the state of liberation or full enlightenment.
Okay, 다 보면하고 대다지 하지 또 만나 봐 양다 받지서 따고서 대다 도텐들이 되나 이제 사람 녀목은 냠니 차나 티블 들에 된 도텐들이 디디들에서. And
so when he says this, subsequently looking at the perfectly and correctly at the emptiness of inherent existence of the 5 ergos also, and so that actually combines all the teachings on the Heart Sutra. So that's the short version, right? Short and a brief explanation, and then there comes the extensive explanation when he talks about form is empty, emptiness is form, and so forth.
Oh yeah, 당아도 들만 제시된 쪽이다. 다수 동바고 동반예수소 동반일레수소 동반 주 동바고 동반예수소 동바 줄레 동반예수 동반일레수시 많이 넣었어. 아니 다 동주로자.
Now we're going to go through the extensive explanation. Okay, so it starts with the form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not than form, form is also not other than emptiness, like that. So first it's it applies to the form, like how the form. Among the other aggregates, how the form is empty.
당연히 부모하고 가는데 부모가 가로 쭉 토와 아니 대신 넘버시 바탱을 왕도 텔라테네 답응하러 왔어.
So when it's the 5 aggregates, what are the 5 aggregates? The aggregate of form, feeling, discrimination, composition factor, and consciousness, right? So those are the 5 aggregates. So the person. A being or the person being, right? So a person is not only like human being, but even animals and so forth. So all the beings, the person, so that's what we talk about. When we say person, this here is referring to the beings, right? So dog is also a person. So So the being or the person is imputed to any of these 5 aggregates as an I. So that is the person.
다 강사세대 간이 따고 그래서나 아니 주 용에 텔라 초안이야 용이 아니 내 제게 아니 단 내는 데말 대신이 남초 용에 내 총월은 데말 된데게 아니 즉 남초 제신이 대 타마 용하고 남시 용에 드니들라 강사라 그래서 대 타마 니조더라 강사라 그래서
강로지고 말하죠. 자마도 말해.
아
자마도 그 말해. 강로죠.
어다 가루라 다
강로.
다 시고다 시
Yeah. So this, to these aggregates, to the collection of any of these 5 aggregates, right? So they say any of 5 aggregates, but in most cases it has to be all 5 aggregates, but in some cases there are only 4 aggregates, like the formless realm beings, so they are also a person, but they don't have a form. They have other 5 aggregates. So for other 4 aggregates, therefore, to those aggregates, you impute as the person, and so therefore that person is there. So to any of these 5 aggregates, you impute as the I, and so that is the person.
Okay. 다 되지. 다 맨날 어느 저와질래라. 가르치는 담보는 아니 주 동보라고 그래. 소화 동보라는 데긴도 대시 동보라는 데긴도 저와래 그래.
And there can come a question also about why the form, right? Why you apply the form to be empty? Why can't you say, why didn't you start with the feeling being empty or discrimination being empty?
간세 아니 스컴베 강사에나 아니 다 주고래. 셔야 강사 인설 주고 말다. 주메가 강사 주요 말해서.
So like beings of the desire realm and form realm of course have a form, so you can apply that. But the formless realm being don't have a form.
어제 다 되니까 변화 수대 변화 아주 칸박선으로 그랬어. 밑에서 칸박선으로 대실로 칸박선으로 아주 수도 차대요 그래.
So our form, is like the house, the house where people live in. So that how the form becomes like that. It's like a house.
어지. 다 소화세대 아니 대나로 배제당해서로 그래. 칸바나 배제당해서.
And the feeling is like the things that you have inside your house, the things that you use inside the house.
아니 대시단 대전이 대나게 잘라 배제당해서로 잘 그랬어.
And then the discrimination and composition factor are like the things inside there that's been used.
아니 넘버 14세대 두두 상말에 대 배제당 중에서로 잘 되었다. 되네로 그래.
And a consciousness, is like one who makes them all, to makes to use them all.
제자 시당 되나 계시면다 다 나도 미지 대화를 감바도 빼 계셔버려. 감바면은 홈레스 차려.
So for a person, it's very important to have a house, right? Without a house, you'll be homeless.
대나지 감바된 것도 철로네 따나 감바 가고도 감바 나보도 감바 야고도 다 대원가도 하고 통통통 레라고 하고 그러와. 밖까지 가고. 단 통통바로 온 거로 왔어.
And the house is quite visible, right? From outside, you can see the house, and you can see the shape of the house. You can see the color of the house. You can say, oh, this is big house, small house, white house, gray house, or whatever kind of description you want to apply to that. You can see that, right? It's very obvious.
간지 ten일이 비줄라 장 용의 마음에 참회게 간지 실로 구속세대 공통되고 따도 공문들체 되어야 아니 뒤체도 담보수 다 수부들 나와 있더라와.
So whether you are you are trained or untrained or educated or uneducated, we can all see the form. You can see the house outside form very easily, right? So it is easy to explain about that rather than talking about something like discrimination or feeling and so forth.
알레 땡어도 변다 초반데 실라는 가도 초반데 시대 좀 무성모도 진 알레 코랑 위마서 맞지네 코 데마트마르데 텔레 칼카요와.
So like when we talk about the discriminations, we don't even know what is feelings, what is discrimination, let alone the feelings and discrimination being empty of inherent existence.
제가 뭐 두지는 대다 담보 안에 지금 아주 레라오가 아니 지금 근데 제쇼가 주된다 아고 주대 안에 되는 바바레스.
And so that's the reason why the form is explained first. Is because the form is easily known or identified. Therefore, it explains about the form.
대야 미치 nengochim 나 군두고 송소 나서 세리베가로 content
Quantum physics?
content physics 다 단다 죽배나 죽던 거 돈이 때는 봐봐도 content physics도 빼 무지하게 다 요도 송소 맞아.
And so that's like His Holiness mentioned yesterday, right? That establishing the emptiness, of the form is very close, with the quantum physics.
Right? 다등이 미셰도 없고 미셰든도 미셰도 제 고야요와 니나 레가 제야와 미 받은 해야 되나 고 잘라마뭐 건데네. 대한번 저 처음에 코는 니는 도둑 찍은데 내가 제 도고 말아 봐.
So like the glasses, the spectacles you're wearing, right? It has so many things inside it, to make it like a reading glasses, right? So you have to have the frames, you have to have the lenses, and you have to have a certain number of the power and all these things. So with all these things together, you get the reading glasses. So by just one thing alone, one solid thing alone, you can't get the reading glasses.
단데네 다 돈이 공고다. 단데네 돈이 공고다. 다 소소고 소티 간데 이제 간제 조세데 간데 첩도 변아. 내려도 첩나 되게까지 내려도 첩나 가리 따왔는데 일단 내 간데 첩도 됐다고요 말이야.
And so now we have to meditate on the emptiness of form, right? So first, how is form established? How is form, in other words, how is form existing?
간제 조세데 로고 파 따셔가지 마도 아니야 코랑가 라지 응원에 수세 도도지 트라면 어떻게 삼다고 그래서.
So first of all, what we have to think is that the form is merely imputed by mind, and there's no form existing solid. Form is one side.
펜인데 내 단데 펜을 봤는데 펜 다른 것도 펜 마오들라 그러고 단데 짜네 슈슈소잖아 그것도 펜 라고 말아 봤어.
So like right now, this thing, the pen, we call it a red pen, right? But if you break it down and turn it into like a dust, will you still call it a pen?
It's a pen, no, right? 제가 내 거야 그 pen을 내가 제가 말아. 그 pen, 근데 그 두친다 가지 드리지 삼당 거다. 내 레라오지로 하가 말아.
So because it doesn't perform the function of the pen, right? Therefore, it's no longer a pen. So like that, you have to think very carefully, on these points.
제가 주 동바래 주대 아니 또베 따다마도 그런 거 라지 원에 잡아요 말해. 대치기도 와.
So like that, form is empty. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, and form is one side.
뭐 담방도 틀리다고 시작한다. 담보 빼나 주 동바고 오사다. 주대 아니 랑원에 잡아요 말해. 라지 잡아요 말 될라 말해.
So first, it says the form is empty, right? So that means there's no form existing from its own side or existing inherently.
아니 다 동반이 있어서나 아니 쭉 라지 마도 다라 가로 쭉 라지 마도 다라 아니 가로 되게 동바 다라 동반이 있어서 동바 다라 그래서 쭉 동바고 동반이 있어서.
So then the form is empty, emptiness is form. So the form being empty of inherent existence itself is the form. So emptiness is not other than form. So there's no form you can put it on the side that is other than a form being empty of inherent existence.
아니 죽레 동반이지만은 죽 코라래야 동반에서 가셔야 말이야. 죽 코라 다라 죽 코라라 아니 가르었다.
랑도 동거레스.
랑도 동거레스. 텔샤이고 말레스.
And then form is not other than emptiness. So form in itself is not other than being empty of inherent existence.
제가 아니 대니 죽내자 돈이 가셔야 말이야. 배나 쪼대가나 파워다 이거 말이야. 가가 말이야. 군이 오지라 도바타데.
가르쳤던 빼디 가르쳐잖아.
쪽제가라 안에 단다 포바샤반지 많이 받지. 내 쪽제다 포카카죠. 대만이 받지. 죽도 돈이다 카샤야 말이지.
So when we talk about the emptiness and the form, right? The form and emptiness of the form. So those are not two separate things. You can't do two separate things. So therefore they are one entity with a different isolation. So you can't think of the emptiness of the form being like separate, like a the cup and the table on top of the on the cup and the table and the cup that's on top of the table.
Okay, 신발 빼셔나 빼 신발 셔야 돼. Yeah, I don't know. 대체도 고대. 근데 시와도 못하바 가요래. 시와도 못하면 미 가간도 와 있네. 시와도 못하면 그 무엇이가 도받아들어와.
So like the impermanence and product, like the product and impermanence. And so if it is produced, it has to disintegrate, it has to perish. So it's called impermanent. So and anything impermanent that has to be produced, so you can't have things changing if it was not produced. So therefore, impermanent and product are synonymous. And so that's, I just wanted to let you know first that about those terms. So do you see the difference now? The difference between the impermanence and product.
그래서나 곤초고 빨라 담추일라는 집어라버스. 곤초고 빨라서 담추 곤초고 빨라래. 제가 그 곤초고 빨라다 담추니 오지하고 고 도바트데마다 오지 미치시게도 왔어.
So when you talk like about Tamcho and Koncho's father, they are same person. So Tamcho is not different from Koncho's father, and Koncho's father is not different from Tamcho. So they are same, but they have different name, right? One is called Tamcho, one is called Koncho's father. They are same entity with a different isolation.
Okay, this is easy to understand. 제가 다도 좀 아니 죽 돈바고 죽 라제트베 돈아래 그게 다 쳐버려버스.
So when we say form is empty, that means the form is empty of inherent existence.
워낙 돈반이 두서는 돈반이 죽 라지 말고 다른 돈반이 말서 돈반이 생각하지 않아요 말했어.
And then what is the form? Emptiness is form. So then emptiness and the form empty of inheritance in itself is the form. There's no form other than that. So there is no form other than the form being empty of inherent existence. So that's what it says. There's no other. The emptiness is not other than form.
아니 zul에 ngojem 아니 zul에 또만이 제만나 zu 코로나 라지 트바 텔레 쟁기 아니 zu기 돈이세 가가지 샤요 말했어. 근데 돈이 줄거라 그래. 돈 사모 줄거 돈이 줄거.
So form is not other than emptiness. It's like there's no form, no emptiness. There's no emptiness of the form other than the empty, other than the form itself. So the form is the form that's empty of inherent existence. So these are what we call like the fourfold, emptiness.
제가 나도 죽었다나 아니 고야 볼라나 아니 저한테 진짜 강아 카포를 고 레라오요.
So like that, if we understand, if we are able to understand on the form, then we can apply this same reasoning, on other aggregates like feeling, discrimination, and so forth.
Okay. 제가 다 나고 군도 가다니 들마 아니 신반 요데 예메 젠셀라 아니 공부로도 빠데 다와트 바도 tundu고 너무 장소 다도 가제 뎀바 마트바 예메 군 데리 빠소래.
So when His Holiness taught about this, he mentioned this, and then to prove this, he quoted from all these scriptures by Nagarjuna, and Ayasanga, and so forth, right? So.
저 강식 땡주 많이 미춘가 마음만나. 추담제 땡에 따밤이 추요 말에. 땡에 따바 연자 아니 동아래에서 그런 거 동아래에서.
So he says if there is no interdependence, then there will be no phenomena. And 같이 된좀 많이 좋아하고 많이.
디세 동화 많이 비추고 많이. 된데가 동화です.
And if there's no emptiness, there will be no interdependence. So if it is interdependence, it has to be empty. If it's empty, it has to be interdependence.
제가 다 내내 가서도 된데 돈이 고시에서 망체 오만 주바 오만 란제 오만 타와셔라 아니 들으나 송거다.
So this is all explained, in great detail in all these different texts, right? Like the engaging in the middle way, and the fundamental wisdom, and so forth. All these different texts that His Holiness mentioned about.
Okay, 다들 봐 마보시에메스 다 내내 오늘 나도 저월 때 쭉 덴버 처음나 맞아 도만 나 가르팽이를 생각도 저한테 뒤쳐와도 고그랬어.
So then we have to have other question in our mind. What does it matter whether the form is empty or not?
난주베나 소소라 조데 강 나와나 타라이 섬 텔레 차비 슈치 뭐지 요래.
So because we have this strong attachment towards the form, thinking that form exists just as it appears to us.
저도 잡아둬야 저도 도말 잡아둬야 너 땅에 저도 세권 땅에 와.
Do you have attachment to your face? Do you look at your face in the mirror?
내가 샤잡아 작은데 잠깐 보자. 다다다 가서 다다다 니날 되게도 마체 간제 공로 해야 돼 자자로. 자도 로치지 갑라 다 쉬고요다.
So like you look at the mirror and then you think of yourself, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm ugly, or I'm fat and I'm skinny, like that, right? So I'm sure most of you here are all grown-up people now, and you must have had those thoughts when you were much younger before.
그래서 포사마다 제뉴해.
Have you played as teenagers, a young age person?
제로.
We played young age person.
아니 부모이나 다 알리 니제 지우면서 부모이나 알리 네가 지우면서 3년이래. 나도 3년.
So that's the question, right? Have you played in a young age? So it means like, did you do all the things that you do, that you do when you're a young person? And like, yes, I'm very young, I'm strong, and I can do that. You have thought of that, right? So you have done a lot of those things that young people would do.
내가 집에 저도 주면 나도 미카가 들래. 나도 삼아 대고 두서를 봤어.
So it's not only you; it's for all of us, right? We all have played young age.
제가 뒤값은 나도 수수고 섭다 됐다고 신박하겠다 그러면 섭다 되지 않다. 섭다 되지 않아. 섭다 되지 않니 저 직직 작은 파고 두고 제거다.
At that time, all we look at is ourselves, right? And how we look. Oh, I look better. I look worse, like that. Always thinking about one's look all the time.
따사대 속다도 소소 속다 그러 소볼라 섭다라.
So what are you looking at? Your form, right? Your form, your body.
제가 지난 섭다 야고 무들랑이 전화 가도 뛰다는 마가와 찬 물어봤어.
And then at that time, if somebody say, "Oh, you don't look good," you'll get mad immediately, right?
제가 지난이 저들랑 가도 뛰다 가오용 물어봤어.
And then if somebody says, "Oh, you look beautiful," then you immediately you feel happy.
제가 나도 씨 나로 간이 자고 말아 간지 혈로 섭다 된 가도 간가 다는 저체 되게로.
So we don't know how we are inside, but we all judge from how we look outside, right?
제가 된리게 착바 안에 전부 슈첨보 여바 연산 전부 슈 가세 제바 디 최게야 수수 삼라 감라다 강이들이 연구여다 돼.
So like that, we have that kind of strong, grasping, at ourselves. And so, however strong grasping we have towards ourselves, that much more feelings we get when we are commended as a good or bad.
제가 만도 이때라 착바 가세 제바 덤지 텔라 때내게 가도 수수 삼라 간지 텔라치 차와이나 아니 수수 삼라 마가고 마요 그래.
And that's how much attachment we have towards something that we like, and if something happened to that, then that much more suffering we will experience.
When I chose fall there, Kanga Papa, Kanga Papa Kunsha US, said over some Papa Kunsha, Jamulaya.
So you all have a phone, right? And you have a case for the phone to protect it, thinking that it may be damaged if you don't, wear the case over it.
But they chomal lagma, then digger dina,
So why do we do that? To protect it, right? Because we're attached to it? I'm not saying that you can't do it. You can do it, of course. You can do it. You should do it because it's smart to do that, to protect it.
제자가 당가도 폰데 니바 가로 저나 가서 그 가와는 유샤가 하고 마이. 아니 가서 잡아달라고 그래.
So that's because we are attached to it. That's why we do it, right? And then when it becomes a little old and we got all these scratches on the phone, then we don't care so much. We'll just leave it anywhere and we'll not care about it.
제가 도저히 다 단단히 봐나. 제가 다 고도도로 가지. 간지 아니 너도 습동바이나야만 가르쳐 주러 갔는데 제발 네 내가 갔나 수수질라 텔레 차비 차파 도와 마 도야 제들이 차파 추는 거야. 무분에서 하고야 제들.
So it doesn't. So what does matter? What does it matter if the form is empty or not, right? But if we understand that, then it helps us, to not have that kind of strong clinging or attachment towards the things. So that's the reality. So to understand the reality or the way things exist, then we have to know about the emptiness.
Okay, 간지 미치게 들어왔는데 죽동바 얘네만 가르쳐왔는 말을 수수질라 텔라야 차바 슈친 뭐 이랬어. 되게 차바도 도와야 되더래서 그 대원에 되기다.
더 동바 이민 또 봤어다.
또봐 하고 있어요.
하고나서.
하고와이나 어때 하고와이나?
지난 거란다 속도 동바 알아. 소 동바 이민 거라다.
어때 하고.
먹어 이게.
야, 나도 한 먹어네. 나도 한 먹어네 텔라야 죽대요다. 대 하고야 제대로 시작이 그래.
So so it's important to understand, that form is empty, and because of not understanding that, then we get attachment and anger and all these things, and so so if we understand that, then we will not get those things. So the purpose of the importance of understanding that is to overcome all these sufferings that comes from clinging to it.
세상에 전화서 내 백시 되어신이나 니나 잘라줄는데 근데 잘라 짜치 뭐 쇼이 촌냐 돼서는 저 짜치고 요버서는 저꽤 sab도 냐데 그러워서 아니 쇼문디 직다가 나라게 다 가지고 돌려 올으잖아 한 중에게 sab도 제가 잡아도 돈으로 그랬어 가지고 인에서 하고 살아.
So like, I give, something, I put something in this bag and give it to you. And I said, well, this is a very, very valuable thing. And very expensive, valuable thing. You should keep it very well. And then you will say, yeah, it's very good, So you think of it as being very good because that's what you were told and that's what you understand. And as being very, very, very valuable and very expensive. And you keep it very well. And then one day you got very curious about it. And then you open, and there was just this old piece of cloth inside there. And then your attachment will be really gone, right? It will be all gone. So that's like understanding the reality. When you understand the reality, your attachment will be gone.
제당 어두치네요. 오케이, 다 되는만 뭐뭐 쉬고매. 아니, 대내 장수 가서 줘도 때 장수 돌려줘야 돼. 야우도 제상 내치도 저면 가서 주도 되는 제가 샤. 아니 장수 들바 장수 주도 제가 and
so last time also, so we won't talk too much now. Last time I saw you guys did some discussion or debate or discussion among yourselves. So that's a very good, to increase your knowledge, doubt, and all these things. So it's a good thing to do. So I will leave that, like the next half an hour for you to do that also.
Pena channel laptop getting homework mumble checking the channel to homework in that kanga and channel to the channel so some to shit. Any Tennisania, Tamachana young on to come to the chat and my level and touch man on to the church.
And so yeah, so usually like the school you get you go to study and then you get homework to do. So this is going to be like homework, okay? And you can do a discussion, you can discuss with each other, and of course you might not come up with all the answers, and then we can meet again and discuss further. And of course, I might not be able to give all the answers to you either, so we can all do discussion together again.
Okay, that telling on the
So now you have to understand the question, right? What was the Shariputra's question? What did Shariputra ask?
And talk with Jinsa Kari, isn't it?
And then you can say, what was the reason for him to ask the question?
When I thought, here is a quarrel, Sanji Chomne, Chinji Lamne, and to Sanji Tokuma Togo, De Tovala, any Tombani, any Togore, Tombani Tona, Tombani Kari Yamselangore. Yamselebe Lamla Kare, Tonum, Jonum, Tonum, Gonum, Lamde. He Tawana Tigana took with us.
And so, so Buddha, was sitting there in meditative equipoise, right? And he blessed Avalokiteshvara, and and answered him. Right? I mean, and gave the answer. And Shariputra was blessed as well, so he asked this question, right? So, how do we practice? How do we practice? In order to achieve enlightenment, you have to meditate on the emptiness. And so then how do you meditate on emptiness? And you have to meditate emptiness in this way, this way, this way, on this path, on this path, on this path, and so forth. So you have to understand all these questions that was asked behind the obvious question in the text. And so then Avalokiteshvara's answer, about, yes, this is how you practice the profession of wisdom, and how you start is like by meditating on the emptiness of the 5 aggregates, and then first start with the form. The reason why you start with the form is because form is easy to see and understand and identify. Therefore, you start with that, right? So that's the thing, we talk about. And so the form is empty, emptiness is form. That's, of course, it's easy to say, but it really is not that easy to understand. And so you have to, contemplate, or analyze more on that. So if you have the knowledge about quantum physics, it will be helpful here.
Okay. 제자야 세이나 줄 따치고 체험하려고 줄 따치고 체험을 안 도배나 테레피가 고 배나 잘라 춘주지 그 테레피 따지지 않고 그 따치고 슈트가 왔다 내가 또 피스 빼면서 내가 지금 쓰기로 왔어 제가 가서 수대 따치 보시네 야 저도 때 수 가로 수보라야 사서 제가 말하려고 말다야.
So like when we talk about emptiness of the form, and understanding about emptiness will help us to not have too much attachment and things like that. It doesn't mean that you should not care about it. Yeah, being attached, brings us suffering, but you still need the body, the form, the body, right? So you have to care about it, so it should not be understood as not caring about it at all, and just like, living it, carelessly, not like that.
Okay. Okay, 당한도 안에 너무 뒤뒤진 대쇼스. 안에 되는 차서 주제 제가 마서 차서 돌리지. 아니요. 차서 들이 다 맞춰 되네요. 얘나 주망도 되건데 항상도 주듯이.
So now we can do a short prayer, and after that you guys can do the discussion, and then if you have any undecided discussion, then you can bring it up next time when we meet, and then we can do further discussion on that.
Okay, however you can ask them question, okay?
Okay.
No, you have to it's important to not looking for the moment that I'm looking for question. Just this one means like that, that If you have question, I'm looking for question, not like that, okay? You have to question the doubt. Whatever I'm talking here, when I'm talking here, if you really concentration, then you have doubt coming. If you know really concentration, then I say, what question? Then say, okay, what's the question? This happened. Okay, how you can give the question for them, okay? Not just how you guys discussion like whatever you guys, because sometimes better to you guys discussion more understand, easy understand. Okay? Because this is the monks debate all the time. Okay, now dedication.
Sa she perky jixing me tok tron, re rabling jini degen padi, sange jindu mikta wagi, drokun namdak jing la chirpan shuk, jetun lame kutse rapten chin, nam katrin le chok chirge padang, los hang ten pedrin me sasum yi, doe munsel tak tu negyu chig, yedam guru ratna mandalakam niryatayami. His
Okay.
Holiness,
Oh, yeah.
His Holiness, long life prayer.
Yeah.
In that snow mountain encircled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig remain in life till samsara's end. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings who extensively clarifies the path to unifies emptiness and compassion, to the lotus in the hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as a bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Through this virtue may I swiftly gain Guru Buddha's state and place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Precious supreme Bodhi mind, may where unborn arise and where born never decline, but increase forevermore.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
You guys more discussion, okay?
Thank you, Geshe.
Big debate, okay?
We'll have lots of questions next week.
Then you can bring like very simple question, then I try to answer. Also, he's only teaching by he's only doesn't word by word, you know. Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Damshala.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.